Welcome to the machine, a very special Christmas edition. Well, not really, but kind of. We're calling this one the Tech Ghosts of Christmas, Past, Present and Future. And my name is Rob O'Connor, and I'm joined in studio by a collection of some of the fine individuals who have featured on our podcast all throughout the series so far. We have Mairead Meagher.
Ho, ho, ho.
We have Siobhan Drohan.
Hello.
We have Brenda Mullally.
Merry Christmas.
And Colm Dunphy.
Merry Christmas.
So it has a kind of Dickensian theme, and we're talking about kind of gifts from the past, present and future that are tied up with technology, maybe some of the things that you might have got or received down throughout the years, maybe something that you're hoping to get this year, and maybe even some predictions for the future. I know Mairead has nothing for the past because she only used to get coal for Christmas, isn't that correct?
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, cool. Maybe a bit of turf.
Yeah, bit of turf.
Yeah. So who wants to go first? Would anyone like to reference a present that they got in the past that really had an impression on them?
Okay, I'll go first. I will. I actually have it in my hand here. It doesn't work anymore. But basically what it is it's a USB pocket video camcorder. And it's literally, if anyone ever had one of those iPod Classics, it looks very similar to that, but it's smaller. And basically what it was called at the time would have been a YouTube camera. Now bear in mind, I would have got this about 10 years ago. And
when you were 8.
When I was 8. Thank you, Colm. Yeah. But I had got it about 10 years ago when phones had buttons on them. So, you know, the phones, you literally, there was no real such thing as a decent video that you could take with the phone. So I got one of these, and what it does is it just takes videos and stores them, and it's got a USB connected onto it, so you plug it into your computer, and there's also a port that you can plug it into the TV and you can watch them off it. And bear in mind, it's absolutely tiny, and it was one of the best things ever. It was made by Creative.
Oh yeah.
So it's just basically what it is a tiny video camcorder. And it's got its own little bit of hard disk space on it. I think it cost 99. It was euros now, not pounds. Euros at the time. So I bought it about 10 years ago, and it's just amazing.
And that was, of course, what's interesting about that is, I'm looking at this now, and if you didn't tell me otherwise, I would think that was an MP3 player.
It looks very like them, and they're literally tiny, and there was even a little display on it. It'll hold the charge on the battery at the moment, but it charges, but it won't hold the charge, so I can't switch it on. I'd love to have just taken a video and put it up on Rob's Instagram, but I just can't get it switching on. It's refusing. But it's an amazing gadget.
That was great.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Who wants to go next?
I'll go, I don't mind.
Go on, Brenda.
Mine is probably 10 years ago as well. It was the DS. And it was at a time when I enjoyed Sudoku and brain games and so on, and I spent hours on it. I think actually it was when I was on maternity leave, and many hours sitting, and so it was great fun. Brain games particularly, I loved doing those on it.
On there's a lot of versions of the DS, isn't there? There's a load of them.
Yeah, there is now. I suppose it was one of the early ones. It wasn't the DS Lite, which is the more recent one. It was just the original. It was just called the DS, with a little stylus pen and keyboard, the flip up screen, and you slotted in a card in the back that, you bought the games type thing. I mean, I would have never been really a gamer, hence the brain games and Sudoku. But
I think that's
really
interesting.
neat.
But that's a really interesting, because the DS, I think, is the best-selling console in history by quite a country mile. And I think that's the console that really broke away from it being a boys' toy.
Yes.
Now, I know games are not just for boys, but really it's not a boys' toy. Nintendo have been incredibly successful with that. My mother had a Nintendo DS. Again, for the brain training, and she used to like those Sudoku puzzles and things like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have had PlayStation or anything like that. And so I suppose that was the first gaming type device that I would have been given. And I really enjoyed it. I still have it. I powered it up the other day, and it's still going strong.
Brilliant.
And the battery lasts forever.
You hardly ever have to plug it in.
It's
really
still
good.
going. They just released an updated version of it last Christmas, I think.
And you could get probably dodgy, but you could get a card with like 50 games on it and some of the old stuff, which was always good.
Colm.
The Chinese, I'm thinking of those Chinese chips that you could order in and download all your games and put it on it. Yeah, I remember
That's
that.
the one.
I feel like a I'm a granddad here compared to these two. I mean, they're talking
But you
about
are.
what I thought was yesterday. My Christmas past. I was thinking when you asked about the theme, I was thinking back, and technology we don't associate it with probably, but actually Lego. And, and what was it? Connects bricks, and then of course we couldn't afford Lego; it was too expensive. So we had the what used to be called Quinsworth. It's now Tesco, and I see Siobhan with her Tesco jumper this morning.
We'll have to get a photo of that and put it out on the tweets. Yeah,
Holding my video camera.
But Tesco, we used to go to get to shopping every week, and in Quinsworth, I think it was called, and they had the cheap version of the Lego blocks. And once you learned the pattern for bricks, you could then build a tower, 4 foot high, and then every week it would grow by a foot. And this was a brilliant thing. And then leading on from that, Meccano.
Yeah.
With the lead paint. You remember? I don't know if you can think back that far, but the technology bit was it came with a remote control, so you could power a car or a crane, and that was kind of my first tech present. But leading on from that, the following year was the computer. The first computer in the Dunphy household. And I remember my cousins, the previous year, we had MB Vectrex.
Oh, yeah.
If you can remember that, that's the kind of the start of your console games. It had one colour, and you put a gel on the screen to get multicoloured games. How times have changed. That was a brilliant games console. And I was thought, right, I'm going to get one of those. But you got fed up with the games. So that kind of led the seed to I want to program. And one of my other cousins had a Commodore VIC-20.
Yeah.
Anyone can remember those? And a Commodore 64. I was just looking up the specs on them this morning. 8 kilobytes of memory. And for those kind of that don't understand, we talk about having computers with 8 gigabytes of memory, and that's 1024 by 1024 by 1024 by 8. That's how far we've come in about 30 years. But my first computer then was, I had the posh one, that came with a built-in cassette deck, not separate. The Amstrad 464.
464, which that was a 64K computer, wasn't it? So that would have been.
Remember.
I think it was because that was.
I think the follow-ups were, but the first one wasn't. The first one was either 8 or 16-bit, but the follow-up was, I think.
No, but 64K, because I think that was in the same class as the Commodore 64. And the reason I know that is because, and this is going to lead on to our one, is that I had the first computer in our house was a crap Atari yoke called the Atari 800 XL that somebody had sold to Santa Claus or somebody anyway and delivered to our house, and it was the same class as the Commodore 64, but it was slightly cheaper, but it didn't have any of the games or anything like that, and it was notoriously unreliable. And some of my friends would have had Amstrads that were in the same class, and there was also the Spectrum. The Spectrum was a 48K.
Yeah, that's right.
But it was quite good for
this.
So we're talking here about the mid 80s, is that right?
Yeah, 84, I think it was, and the guy who brought it out is a superstar now. He's Sir Alan Sugar.
Yeah. Amstrad was it?
That was the one
Sugar.
that made him. Yeah, he's the big businessman. That was the one that made him. But I was thinking, the other features on it. It came with its own monitor. That was a big change because we used to have to plug it into the TV, and the screen would wave all the time because it could never get a stable picture. But the Amstrad came with its own monitor, and I remember thinking, but I want it on my television. So the following year for Christmas I got a modulator. There's a word, right, that you could plug it into the TV, and what was clever about that was now you could, this sounds ancient, you could record the picture onto video cassette and play it on video cassette. So you could write a program to draw a picture and record it. And that was actually my first job in computing, was I sold computer pictures on video cassette, because you could play them in pubs and tell people what was coming next week in the pub or in the nightclub.
Wow.
That was one of my first stunts. But the other add-on I got that year, which is what kind of I said I'd talk about this morning, was the light pen.
Oh yeah.
Like Star Wars, but you could draw on the screen, and I thought this would be amazing. until it actually arrived, and it was absolutely rubbish. You know, you didn't have fine-grained, high-detailed graphics. It was 80 blocks wide by 23 at the highest resolution, you know. And then we have 4K televisions this year, so how times have changed. But yeah, the light pen was my big one.
Wow. Well, it's funny because we're actually going to go on a kind of the next generation up, which is my
But before
one.
you do, can we hear about the pack of dot punch cards that Mairead got for Christmas, I believe?
That is so funny, Colm.
So I said, like, the Atari 800 XL was the first machine that we got, and it wasn't great, but I did do a little bit of basic programming on it. But then, and I think it was 1991, I think it was Christmas in 1991 or thereabouts, and I was around about 13, and we got an Amiga 500.
Wow.
It was the Cartoon Classics pack. It came with a whole load of games. Like, there was a Simpsons game and Lemmings, which I don't know any of you ever play Lemmings.
I love Lemmings.
It's one of the best games ever. And actually,
Brilliant.
I recently fired it up on an emulator we built in a Raspberry Pi, and it's still as good as ever. It's brilliant.
yeah.
It's a brilliant
It's
puzzle
super.
game. You should
Yeah.
definitely check it out,
Yeah.
Brenda. But the Amiga 500, which was a 16-bit computer away from the 8-bit computer. And what I loved about this one, and this really kind of switched me on, was it came with 512k of memory, which you think is 8 times 64 kilobytes of memory, so 8 times the amount of memory that would have been in the Amstrad or Commodore 64. But it came with a 512k upgrade kit, and you had to perform a little bit of surgery on the machine to install this block of extra memory, so that you had 1 megabyte of memory. And this was, this blew my mind. And to do it was very simple. Like, you just connect it up and you screw it in, and that was that. But suddenly, if you think of it, you've gone from 64 to 16 times the amount of memory, and it was amazing. And what I loved, the games were great, and that's largely what I did was play games. But
Graphics were brilliant.
the graphics were amazing, because they had 256 colours as opposed to 16 colours, I think, or something like that. I remember at the time reading about it was the colour count, and seemingly Andy Warhol created art using an Amiga as well, because it had so many colours available to it. But what I loved about it was, or what I think looking back on it now that really made an impact on me, was that it came with a disc that had a thing called Workbench on it.
Yeah.
And Workbench was kind of like an operating system in that it had a whole load of tools and things like, so there was like a crappy word processor, and you could copy discs on it, which we might have done once or twice. But it also came with Amiga Basic, which was a basic interpreter, compiler. Basic's not compiler, I don't know, a bit where you could write basic programs in this, and again get it to do stupid things like draw a picture or actually had speech synthesis. I remember you could get it to say something, and this just blew my mind, and it was great. The Amiga 500 had a huge impact on me.
My keywords from Amiga days were swap discs.
Yep.
Can't remember what they are, but swap discs and Deluxe Paint.
Deluxe Paint 3. It came with Deluxe Paint 3, and you could do a little animation on it. I remember doing it once.
And the first animation course in this college was actually based around Amiga computers. Dudley Schneidel was the lecturer at the time in the art college in Newgate Street, which is no more. And I remember doing an animation course with Dudley, and it was all based around Amigas, but they were posh Amigas because they had hard drives.
Oh, wow. Floppy drives.
We had moved on from the box of floppies.
Yeah, I was trying to explain it to students the other day, because we were doing a thing with taking a computer apart and had a zip disk in it,
Yeah.
And you say to them, look, this zip disk, this when I was in college, this was my life, because this would have 250 megs of data on it, as opposed to one floppy could have like 1 and a bit, 1.4 or something like that. Yeah. And these were lives, and they're going 250 megs, and like they produce this tiny little USB stick that has millions and millions and millions. It's crazy.
But sure, do you remember the 5 1/4 floppies as well? Like, if you had to be careful where you were carrying them, because if they bent, you wouldn't be able to read them again. So they weren't in a hard case; they were in a soft plastic, and you were kind of carrying them in your book, going, my assignment is on this.
So that's progress.
Yes, exactly. Now I'm showing how old I am. But
sorry, I will come back to Colm. There were stories about carrying over your programme in the punch cards, and a gust of wind would come, and the punch cards would just go everywhere. That was the end of the programme.
Yeah. Wasn't that an episode of The Simpsons with a Pooh's programme, wasn't it?
They take everything from me. Plagiarism, Simpsons. Yeah, no, seriously, that used to happen all the time.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So it was the same as you'd hear of people cycling home with their master's thesis on the back of the bike, and it'll go to the Four Winds as well. No backup, because it was all untyped.
So what this means is students, if any current students are listening to this and they complain about, I lost my assignment because I didn't save it.
No sympathy.
None at all, none whatsoever. Right, let's move on to Christmas present. And maybe some recommendations, tech recommendations of gifts maybe for this year. Now, I know, Mairead, you're fierce excited about a gift that is arriving for you this year.
I am, Rob, but a very sad story about it. It's gone missing.
Oh, no.
Yes, I've ordered an Apple Watch, and apparently currently they're looking for it in UPS in Dublin, so that was very, very sad.
And this is the brand new one as well.
This is the brand new, yeah.
The
so I just
Apple
wanted to kind of, because I was looking at wearables, I suppose, is about 2 months ago. Kind of had a look at around the whole area, and just for people looking at that area, just to kind of run through it. I suppose the three main, like there's loads and loads of different brand names on watches, smart watches or whatever. I suppose the main ones that you'd see around would be the Apple Watch, the Fitbit, and some garments. Like there's loads of others, but they'd be the ones I'd look at. The Apple Watch it's an Apple product. It's really, really heavily priced. It's really, really good. It gets all the Apple features with it. There's the Fitbit is very, very functional as well. Loads of different versions. I'll go through a few of them. And the garment seems to be, from what I can see, it seems to be a specialist one. Like the triathletes wear it, and they're very, very specialised. You can go up to $1,000, €1,000 in those, no problem. They make the tea for you for that. Like amazing stuff. But if I just go back to the... and if you want to, just say, if you're looking for a present for somebody, like you will get low priced activity trackers if that's what you want, and they're absolutely functional.
Yeah.
And one thing,
are you wearing one right now? Is this
I'm wearing a Fitbit HR. Yeah.
Yeah. And what have you found useful about that?
What I found really, really useful about that is I've had it now for about, let's say, a year and a half. It calculates my steps. I am one of those people that actually get up to 10,000 steps, which is so, it doesn't make any logical sense, but I keep doing it. So that tracks my steps, but more importantly, the heart rate one I think is really important, because what it does is it kind of keeps an eye on what you're doing in exercise and so on. And it also tracks your resting heart rate, which is a really good indicator of health actually. It also calculates how much active time you have. So you could have 10,000 steps and only have had, so it kind of calculates contiguous active time. So you're supposed to have 30 minutes of that. So you could have it in 10-minute blocks, but it'll calculate that for you. So it gives you a good idea of it, and it does give you, and every hour, a tenth to the hour, if I don't have 250 steps done, it buzzes and says get up and does that. Now, I actually have been speaking to somebody who literally was told by her doctor to do this, that she had a hip problem, and she was told that by moving every hour, and it is actually absolutely revolutionised. So this movement thing, because it's a new health thing, that actually being static is almost as bad as it's one of the major health concerns of people being static. So this 250 kind of steps an hour is kind of the baseline for that. So I found that great. Now what I actually have as well with it, which is completely unnecessary, but I have a weighing scales that goes into that as well. It's a Fitbit weighing scales, and so that goes into all my data. So every day I can see all of my data is together, and if I do, in the unlikely event that I meet a goal, it actually buzzes and tells me I'm fantastic. So I think that happened once in the 80s. But it's great. I find it great. But there is actually evidence that when people are being monitored, even by themselves, they do better. Yeah. So maybe we don't know why that is, but that is apparently a fact.
But you're upgrading to the Apple Watch.
I am upgrading.
And what is it about that appeals to you? Is the
Honestly,
fact that it looks really cool?
Yeah, it kind of looks really cool.
I'd love one as well if anyone is out there. I don't have one.
Yeah. I'd love to get one for Christmas as well, actually, if they ever find it. I suppose I'm a kind of an Apple person, and it was something that I had a goal, and I said once I'd reached this goal, I'd get the Apple Watch, and I kind of reached the goal. So what's so good about it? It looks great. It's an Apple Watch. You're going to get all the Apple iOS in it, so I can go and I can play my Spotify on it, so I can use all the apps on it.
Yes.
I can get my email, I can do the text, that's fairly standard. And I'll talk about the bit fit in a minute. One thing that I didn't realise on the Apple Watch, and it's something that people might know, is that there's a fall detection on the Apple Watch, which I find really, really interesting. So if anybody's out there looking for, maybe you've a big birthday coming up for a granddad or grandmother or whatever, this is because I'll come back to it is a heavy price. It's 440.
400.
Yeah, 400. Yeah, 440. It starts at.
Wow.
But basically, if you have the fall detection turned on, and if somebody just falls, there's a gyroscope on the Apple Watch. So if somebody falls and doesn't move, it detects that, and it comes out and it says, "I think you've fallen. Do you want me to contact somebody?" And unless you tap it, that call goes through. So for older people that will, now the problem is maybe they won't wear the watch, but for older people there's no monitoring cost on that. So you don't have to set up a kind of big infrastructure around that, and it's very, very simple to manage. So if there was a big birthday coming up or something, it might be worth kind of clubbing in to get somebody in that. And interestingly, if you put in your data into it, and if you're over 65, it'll automatically turn the fall detection on. So you just say younger people that might be doing all sorts of physical exercise or whatever, you might want to turn that off, or it'll default off as well.
I have to interject, Mairead, you don't look 65, honest to God.
There's a bit of a hate relationship going on here.
You're playing a blinder here now, Colm.
But I think, do you know what, Mairead?
I think he stole my Apple Watch up the UPS, actually.
But I think you've touched on an area that we could probably devote an entire
Absolutely.
podcast, multiple podcasts, because it's a huge area. This called health informatics, and then the amount of wearable tech and the amount of sensors and things that are available. I remember when the iPhone 4 came out, was the first one that had a proper gyroscope in it.
Yeah.
I mean, and that was a game changer. I remember a student made a Spirit Level app, and this was just mind blowing that you could do this with a relatively cheap piece of hardware. Relatively cheap, obviously being the operative word. I mean, it's amazing. So I think maybe that might be something we can come back to. But you would recommend the Apple Watch, even though you haven't got it yet.
I haven't got it yet,
but it looks cool
because Colm took it.
Yeah.
But if that is the high end, right?
Yeah.
The Fitbit is kind of good in the middle, and like as you said, I have the Charge. There's an upgrade. The latest one is the Charge HR version 3. Actually, you'll get a good price on a version 2, which is absolutely fine. Functionally, they're really, really good. There's a Versa, you'll get a Versa, which is functionally quite similar to the Apple Watch, and it's only around 200. So. It doesn't have
the apps, though, is the thing. It doesn't have Spotify, because I was actually thinking about that. And
it doesn't have the Spotify.
That,
It has Deezer to do the music. Yeah. So it doesn't have the backup of the iOS that you'd hope for. So it's kind of a really, really good intermediate one, but it's not. And the Ionic is a little bit better. Now, both those, they'll do swim for you. You can swim, they'll do the laps. There's just another thing just for the Apple Watch as well. There's ECG hardware in there, so... In America now, you can actually do electrocardiogram.
It was switched on yesterday, actually. The
for Ireland?
No. In America, the functionality was switched on yesterday.
It's not ready. It has to be okayed basically by the health people here. So the hardware is there. It may come. They're saying before Christmas. I don't believe a word of that. No. But it will come eventually. The hardware is there, so that's really, really useful. But that's the Garmin.
I had the Fitbit actually last year, I think. Oh no, I had a Fitbit and I had a Garmin. I've been through a few of them. Yeah. And one of the things to watch out for is the strap. The replacement straps are about €100.
Yes, but if you go to GearBest, if you go to GearBest, it'll take about 4 months to come. But they're really, really cheap in it, and you'll get about 3 or 4 of them. So, but the replacement straps are really expensive.
Well, you want to buy them when you're buying the watch then, so you have the replacement straps, you don't have them.
Yeah, but actually Fitbit are very good to replace.
Yeah.
And they will replace if you ask them to, even for bad
Oh, well, I moved on. I have a Howie.
And hell yeah. So that's spying on us.
That's what I call it.
So the word is that's spying on us, is it?
They're
spying on us. Yeah. So,
everybody is, Rob.
Yeah, we are. We're also, sure, here we are in a room full of microphones. Worried about being spied. So what would you recommend then for this year, Brenda?
My favourite at the moment is my Kindle.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah.
I have the Kindle Voyage. I think it's called the Voyage.
Oh, that's the really high end one.
Oh, yeah.
Of course it would be. Yes.
Because it has the light sensitivity. It's really nice ergonomically. I would have always been a book reader and would have always loved holding a physical book, enjoying that physical side of it as well. But then, I don't know, something changed and it was a gift for me. And so it wasn't something that I kind of instigated, and yet I took to it very easily, whereas I hadn't thought that I would.
May I ask you, this is a personal question, so tell me to F off, right? Could it be kids? Because I used to read an awful lot, and then when kids came along, my reading went...
Well, yeah.
And it went back up again, thanks to the Kindle.
Oh, my reading's definitely gone up. I mean, I used to always read, then I did... an unrecommended PhD, and that stopped any pleasurable reading for about 8 years.
Yeah.
And then I started devouring books again. But do you know what it was more? I didn't like buying books because I had this... environmentally, I don't like buying physical books.
Yeah.
The libraries here aren't as good with... as you might get in Britain, where my brother would borrow books all the time. It's not quite as accessible here. And even having kids trying to get into the library and get out again is tricky. So I stopped buying books and borrowed them from other people or whatever for a while. And so, yes, once I bought the Kindle, I think I got it in February for my birthday, and I've probably read, I don't know, 50 or more books, definitely, since then. And the knock-on effect is my 12-year-old keeps stealing it on me. And Santa is bringing, hopefully, a Kindle to her this Christmas so that she doesn't sneak into the room and steal it from me. So it's brilliant. I mean, even there... I was looking up a list of popular books at the moment. There's a particular genre I like, and so I just went into Kindle to search for them and put them in my shopping list for down the line so that I'd remember. You know,
good.
They had reviews of them, and there are ones I would definitely like to
The thing
read.
that I really like about the Kindle is the battery life. The battery life is spectacular.
Awesome.
You know, and it's the e-ink screen. It's because it's not constantly refreshing itself.
I mean, it lasts, I'd say if I charge it once a fortnight, if even, and that's reading easily an hour a day.
Oh wow, okay.
The battery life is phenomenal, and it's just so portable. And then of course I have the Kindle app on my phone now too, so you know, in between times, or if I'm at lunch on my own for 20 minutes or whatever, it comes out in that as well. Yeah, so it's really nice. I mean, for somebody who enjoyed the physical book, there are little things that I do miss, that sense of where you are in a book, that you can't feel whether you're in the middle or what, and then also the sense of the end of the chapter. I hate putting a book down in the middle of a chapter. I have to get to the end of the chapter and then go sleep. So that's tricky, whereas before you just flick on and you'd see how many pages left, whereas to do that in the Kindle and then to go back to where you were, I just find annoying.
So Brenda, your e-reader is the top of the range one, yeah?
Yes.
I remember a couple of years ago doing some research when I was getting an e-reader for Christmas, and the killer feature, because I'd seen everybody else make the mistake, was to have the light built into the screen, the backlight.
Yes.
And there was only about two of them at the time. You have I think it was the Kindle Paperwhite.
Paperwhite.
But the cheaper one was the Kobo Glow, and I know there's been variations on that, but that was one of the things. But also the software. There's open source software for your ebooks, and there's one called Calibre. And it must be the best software has been written in years.
It looks awful, but it's very functional. But it looks awful.
Yeah, to get your books in the right format.
My dad uses that. He's blind and he uses Calibre all the time for audiobooks.
Okay.
Deadly.
Very good. Siobhan, you look like you're wanting to interject.
I'm always trying to interrupt. Well, getting back to the whole spying thing, right?
Okay.
I'm going to actually say that the present that I would love this year, and I have one that I would recommend this year, would be an Alexa. Are you going to say the same, Colm? Fantastic. I absolutely love it. I got it at... Has anyone ever heard of a Homer present? I got it from my husband, so but I really wanted it, so I got it, and that was his present. But it was like really for me.
Yeah.
But it's just absolutely brilliant. I have my lights going off it. I've automated the lights. I just say Alexa, lights on, and it'll switch on the lights in the living part of the house. And you know, if you're away and you're kind of going, oh sure, it's dark. You know, I better switch on the lights at home. You just go into your app on your phone and switch it on. So basically, Alexa, she's an AI. So she's artificial intelligence, and you can hook up loads of devices to it. You can also do different things like download skills on it. Some of the there's a load of different types of skills that you can download. I think my kid's favourite one is pull my finger. And you can imagine what Alexa does. She responds with loads of different curious sounds and comments on the sounds, on how long the sounds are and stuff. Yeah. So that's my kid's favourite one. But you can download loads of different kind of skills, and you can ask Alexa, what's the weather like? You can say, tell me a joke today. One of the things that I use it for a load is my shopping list.
That's what I use it for.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. You can you're in the kitchen, you run out of something, you go, oh, Alexa, add milk to my shopping list. But then my kids hear me, and then I'm in the shop and I'm scrolling down through the shopping list, and there's like poo on it and wee on it and stuff. So so they put, and then there could also be like a new colour television on it, and so. But it's very good for shopping lists and stuff like that. So. I listen to Spotify and the radio hugely through it as well. Yeah. So like we have in the kitchen, we have an amp, and we've got a big radio, like we've got a big tower system, like, with the CD player on it and turntable, the whole lot. But it's literally now, my husband still uses it, but to me it's a relic, and I just use the Alexa speaker. We got an Alexa Echo. And it's just, the sound out of it is amazing. Like, it's really, really good. It's high quality.
What price range are they?
I think they're about 90.
So I was going to talk about Alexa this morning as well.
Yeah, and, we'll get a conversation going.
So 2 weeks ago, Black Friday sales, and of course Amazon came out a week early this year for the Black Friday. Got in early, so they were selling the Alexa Dot for 30 quid, 29 quid, right? And the Dot is like the baby version. Yeah. They have the speaker on it has vastly improved. It's on its third generation, and I thought, everybody I know is getting an Alexa Dot for Christmas for me this year, and it was going to be an Amazon Christmas. I don't know how many I tried to order, and they tried to block you ordering too many, and I found a way around it, and I got a big load of them ordered. This is before Black Friday. Yeah. Then there's the Echo.
Yeah. And interestingly, those dots were 60 quid last Christmas.
Yeah, but they're discounted a number of times because I have a couple of them. Yeah,
I thought, what a great price point, because you get all the same functionality of the bigger one. It's just at a quieter speaker. I've got 4 kids, so 4 speakers going upstairs. Yeah, it's going to be noisy. Play one with hip hop, one with rock, one with pop, and one with dance. So it's going to be crazy with music. And I was looking at it from the point of view of a speaker to go with their phones, right? And then the bonus was the AI feature. Now I did get one, and I've sent it back because I said, Alexa, do the ironing. It doesn't work, so that's ruled out. But the Echo was £55.
That's with the 360 speaker.
The bigger speaker.
That's the one we have. Yeah.
And there's an Echo Plus as well.
An Echo Plus is the next one.
And there's Sonos.
An Echo Show as well.
Yeah, but that's the one with the screen.
Yeah, the screen. Yeah.
But the Echo Plus was reduced to 85. So you had really good price points. So here's the thing. I don't know. There must have been 200 things in this order. And I joined Prime, Amazon Prime, so you get next day delivery. No delivery. And, so it's
with Mairead's watch.
Now the order has been cancelled, so I have to start Christmas shopping again.
Oh no!
So it's not going to be an Amazon Christmas in it.
God! Do you know the Echo is amazing? Actually, that was going to be my present or my Ghost of Christmas future, because I think as a technology, it's fascinating. Alexa, and there's the Google AI, and there's the Siri, and there's the Microsoft Cortana, all those. Yeah.
And IKEA now.
IKEA have one as well, do they?
IKEA Home now, yeah.
Right. Oh, do they? Okay. I get my bulbs in IKEA, all the Wi-Fi bulbs.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But I've done a bit of development for the Alexa, for the Alexa and the Google earlier this year in one of the modules. I found it fascinating. It was a really interesting platform to develop for. I found the Google one very difficult, nowhere near as robust an ecosystem as Amazon. Amazon have really gone all in on this, and the tools that they have for it are brilliant. Hit a load of hiccups with it though, really weird ones about this is for the geeks. We were trying to play audio, do a kind of a news kind of an application, and it down to the way the encoding of the audio was in terms of bit rate, and it was a very really obscure bit rate, but very, very specific. And it would work in the simulator, but not work in the real device. But I mean, those kind of things are being ironed out, and to develop a simple app for Alexa is actually quite easy. You could knock something up in about 10 minutes. It wouldn't do very much, but you could do a Hello World app in about 10 minutes for Alexa. Google, I found very difficult to develop for, and it was quite hobbled. The development environment was very hobbled compared to the Amazon one, where they basically look, they have, it's a playground, go do what you want. It's a really interesting area, and I think you're going to see a lot more of that in the future in terms of assistive technology, Mairead, like what you were getting at. It's fascinating, but of course there is all scary things about, are they spying on you?
Oh yeah,
there's other
a lot of it is myth.
There is and there isn't. We hear some dodgy things about the Google one in particular, but and again, I don't know how true it is. But
we should interject, if Google and Amazon are listening, which I believe they are at this stage.
Colm wants his order.
We are open to receiving test devices on an ongoing basis. For class, for educational purposes.
And if Apple want to send me an Apple Watch to test series. But actually, it was a really interesting bit of research I was reading. I was listening to another podcast, and it led me to an article about why Alexa, Siri, they're all female. And seemingly this comes down to, and this is a much more of an ethical question, that people, male and female, are much more comfortable giving orders to a female gendered assistant than a male. I thought that was fascinating. It blew my mind, and I also kind of went, oh, okay.
When we got our Alexa, the first thing I asked was, can I change it to Alex?
And you can't.
No.
I want my husband.
There it goes.
Alexa came out.
That was Siri. But yeah, it's fascinating. And so I have actually errors changed to computer. So it's not. No, it still has the female voice, but I have it changed to computer.
Yeah, because there's only a few wake words that it'll understand.
So it's constantly listening to those, and all the processing is done in the cloud.
Yeah.
But it's a fascinating.
Does anybody remember 2 years ago when they ran the Alexa ad on TV and all the orders went through from everybody who had them already?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
They fixed that bug.
Brilliant.
I'm going to do a gift for this year, and it kind of follows on from really what you were talking about earlier, Brenda, and it's the Nintendo Switch. And I actually got one of these for myself. Well, I got one of these during the summer for the kids. It's a Homer present for myself, really. And
did you hear that, Jenny?
It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. I think it's a great bit of kit. It's a really, really lovely console. I've played a few games on a couple of them. I'm not a big gamer. I would have liked to play games in the past. I don't really get to play them too much these days. And some of the games on it are fantastic. And I know some of the geeks really give out of it, like that the frame rate is lower than the PS4 and the I don't care. The games are brilliant. Some of the games I've played have just been I loved. One of the games in particular really, really struck me was a game called Wonder Boy, which was an old Sega game from years and years and years ago that a French studio kind of remastered, and they used this hand-drawn art, and they did a new orchestral score, and it was just, I loved it. I absolutely loved it, really, and the kids loved it. And that's the other thing about it as well. I'm quite happy for them to play the Switch, because the games aren't as violent, and some of them aren't as adults, and Mario Kart is still as crack cocaine addictive as ever. It's brilliant. I really love it. So I think if anyone is out there looking for a games console or thinking about it, I don't think you can really go wrong with the Switch. It's a top class piece of kit. So there you go. Now, anyone want to care to predict something for the future?
I have a whole list.
Go on.
It's kind of my wish list, right? So first thing I want, right, I always dropping my phone. Constantly dropping it. Drives me bananas. And every time I drop it, I kind of, like a fairy loses its wings somewhere. It's kind of, it's bad, So basically what I'm planning, and what I would absolutely love, would be a super bendy, super flexible phone that's like kind of fits. You see them in the futuristic films, but it's basically super bendy, super flexible phone that you can drop anywhere, waterproof. And they're actually being developed at the moment.
That's right.
There's
Samsung
a company doing them at the moment.
Recently.
There's a couple of guys. I can't remember the name, Froton or something, is starting to develop them at the moment, but they're not available yet. So that's one of them. Another thing that I would absolutely love, right, is kind of going back to the whole health thing. And it's to have this little device that you just point it at food, and it'll tell you the exact composition of the food, the whole shoot and match. Yeah.
That's a good one.
It's being developed at the moment.
Is that like a tricorder from Star Trek, essentially?
Yeah. So basically, it's got huge, not only just for people who are watching what they eat, but it's got, if you're diabetic, and, just point it at what you're just about to eat, and it'll say, you need X amount of, and that's why I was thinking of it. One of my friend's kids is highly allergic to milk or dairy products. Now, anaphylactic shock level if she touches a tiny bit of it.
Okay.
And that's kind of, anytime she's up in the house, I'm like, oh my God, lock away all the dairy stuff, like. But I'd love to be able to have something like that you could point at the food and just go, yeah, don't give it to her.
So there you go. Maybe Science Foundation Ireland are listening to this and they care to give you some money to go and develop this.
Go and develop. That's it. Texas Instruments and somebody else is looking at it at the moment. They're starting to do it. It's near infrared technology or something they're using. Wow. I won't pretend to know about it because I don't. But that sort of stuff would fascinate me. But then kind of a wacky yoke that myself and Brenda are going to retire next year in this. Right. There's a company called Planetary Resources, and what they're looking at the moment is mining asteroids.
Okay.
So it's basically going to be the next gold rush. So I want shares in that company. Okay. Right. So what they're looking for is they want to mine water. The most valuable resource in space is water.
Yes.
So they want to mine water off asteroids because it's on them. So they're now in the process of coming into that technology and starting to look at that. So because what the thing is, we can only do near space exploration at the moment because we cannot bring enough fuel and enough water to sustain life on board and also to produce our own fuel in space. There's no service stations. So these guys reckon that if they can mine water from asteroids, got hydrogen, you've got oxygen, you can make your own fuel in space and you can do deep space exploration. So we want shares in Planetary Resources, don't we, Brenda? We
Absolutely.
do. Yeah, we're going to be loaded this time next year. Kind of, well, it's maybe actually it's a present for this year.
Yeah, it's not so far-fetched, really, when you think about it. No, not at all.
It'll change the face of the world.
Yeah.
And then I asked kind of my kids what would they like in the future if there was technology. And one of them said that they would like to have, you know the way you have a phone, they would like to be able to actually just you know the way we pinch and we expand stuff on the screen, but they'd love to be able to pinch it and the actual dimensions of the phone change. That's kind of nifty, yeah. Okay. So another one wants a disc that turns into everything, like a football, a tennis racket, I don't know, yeah. So he wants that. And another one wants a time machine, wants a time machine to go back and stop George Lucas from making the prequels.
Right, well, all the other ones, I think the last one there, I think is maybe beyond the realms of possibility. Certainly for now. I don't think Science Foundation Ireland have that
level of money.
Level of money. Although maybe they could, fall off a toilet and
that's it, and give us money.
Get the flux capacitor.
If they invested in Planetary Resources, they would have the money to do anything.
Yeah. Well, maybe he could just shoot off into space, and then he really wouldn't care about episode 1 anymore. Or, Anyone else for a prediction before we wrap up?
I can tie in with all of those. My light pen from 1984 is now coming of age. It became a lightsaber, and we're tying in with your space travel through Star Trek. And I want a new screen, which isn't a physical thing, it's a holographic display, and it comes out of my phone, which Vodafone have launched on 5G just a little while ago. So holographic display, and I'll plug my PlayStation 5 into it. I'm getting it 2 years early, which will have an 4K or 8K display on it. So there you go.
Brilliant.
I have one last one.
Go on, Brenda.
I want all of my devices to be free of cables for charging. No more charging.
Yeah.
They're working on it. The Royal Day. Someone's working on it at the moment. I was looking up about it, and that they garner energy and get battery power from other devices, TVs, radios, and whatever else. I'm done with USB cables and plugs and just cables in general.
Are you listening, Apple?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I hear you.
Bane of my life.
I hear you. Yeah, cables. The world is full of cables, and then when you actually want one, you don't have it.
No.
Yeah.
I bought a label maker to stop my kids robbing the cables on me, right? An actual label maker, and I put my name on it. And now they're still being robbed, right? But now they'll just say, I know who has it.
Mairead, you have a prediction for the future.
No, this is my hope that somebody will write software that doesn't lose things. So I will get my Apple Watch.
Okay. All right. So what you're looking for is kind of track and trace software, is it?
Yeah.
That actually works, though.
That actually works. One that actually works, right?
Right, so we're recommending a whole heap of things. The Apple Watch, Kindle, Switch, technology from the past, the Echo, and that is a really interesting technology to look for in the future. We're going to take a little break now on the machine over the Christmas period, and we will be back in the new year with a whole series of new episodes. Go on, the lads want to get in there. Go on.
Yeah, can I just say just a quick word of thanks to Rob. He brought us coffee today after about 4 weeks of asking him for coffee and buns.
Coffee and buns.
But I suppose more importantly, really, he's dragged us all by the scruff of the neck to get us in here, and it's been brilliant.
Yeah,
so
well
thanks
done,
a million
Rob.
to Rob. Well done, Rob.
Yeah.
And a new feature on your show from now on. We have quite a lot of listeners now, and we're going to give a shout out to some of the companies that are promoting it, and a big shout out to everybody in Red Hat, I believe.
Hi, Red Hat.
Well, also I'm hoping now in the new series, or that after the new year, we're going to get some guests from Red Hat, particularly when we're talking about technology that affect those companies. I think it would be really they'd be really good contributors to the show. So there you go.
Absolutely.
Right, a very happy Christmas to you, a happy New Year, and all of that jazz. Don't kill too many brain cells, because hopefully you'll need them in 2019.